Hello everyone and welcome to a Field of Glory 2 medieval multiplayer battle. I am Dark and this is a paired match, ranked match actually, against Witan, who by his elo appears to be at least significantly better player than myself, which is fine. Today we're going to be doing the German Imperialist versus the French, and this is part of a paired match, so what that means is that I will be playing as the opposite side as well, and this is done to kind of mitigate, unfavorable terrain and stuff like that, since this game is very, very much dependent on terrain. So playing as this German Imperialist, something that's kind of unfortunate is we are kind of saddled with one of these raw spearmen, like we have to bring it. We do get a crossbow that we get, as well as some defensive spears and 2 knights. We were probably going to bring some defensive spears anyway. We were probably going to bring some knights anyway. And sorry, I had to clear my throat there. Jeez. So this is going to be an interesting match because there's kind of a little bit of a choke point here. Now, what I know from the French deployment is they're going to have a ton of knights that they're going to be able to bring, which is obviously just very unfortunate for us because there's so much flat terrain. In the mirror, I've already seen that Witan himself has kind of set up with a really defensive position over here. And I'm going to try to decide if I'm content with kind of just hanging back or if I want to make a more aggressive play. This section of hill right here is really, really interesting to me because it's not as aggressively disgusting as this hill is. Like, he can't approach this hill at all, and that's great if I want to force a draw, but I don't. I want to win against him. So we have to think about this from one of two ways. We either go for this hill, which does give us a definite advantage, allows us to get some shots over our units here, as well as giving us an uphill advantage, but there's kind of a problem, which is that he starts much closer to it. So I believe he can start his units at this line here, based on what I remember, which would put his knights about right here. If he wanted to rush it, he'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and he'd be there in 2 turns. There's just no way. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. We'd be contesting it definitely for sure, like immediately. And maybe that's what we want to do. However, the problem is our knights would get there pretty quickly, but our crossbowmen sure wouldn't. Now, he can bring a number of crossbowmen, which could be problematic for our own knights. But given the completely flat terrain, I don't know how valuable that is. The problem with open terrain like this is that if you bring units like archers and crossbowmen, if the enemy has more frontline troops than you, they can just rush into melee and completely negate the points that you brought just by virtue of doing that, and do really unfortunate things like set up flanks or just shatter the archers. I mean, these units in the open just get completely butchered most of the time, so that's something else to consider as well. Now, I'm going to take a second to think about what units I actually want to bring here. I've been kind of talking about it for a little bit. I'm going to see what I can come up with. Alright, so here's what we got. I maxed out on knights. I think in more open terrain like this, especially knowing that he's not going to have any rough terrain to really hide in, that being able in some capacity to meet his knights is going to be important. We only have 10 as opposed to his 13, which means we are outnumbered in that regard. And we're going to have to do things like leverage our spearmen as well as our crossbowmen to be able to deal with this. I think kind of what I want to do is make a push for this hill, because again, there's just, like, I could sit here, right? But he's never going to attack into it. He's just going to swing all his troops over here and attack from this direction, which I don't like. Especially if he's bringing a ton of knights. That's going to cause problems because I'm not going to be able to... I'm just going to get overwhelmed, right? So I could put a unit of crossbowmen in here to potentially anchor this side. I kind of like that idea. So I think we're going to do that, just to have the unit there. And then, I mean, all we really need to disrupt a unit of knights is like 3 crossbowmen, and then anything that gets close enough to these units is just going to get their faces smashed, except for, of course, knights, which we're going to be potentially disrupting with these, because one advantage we have over that list is we do have dismounted knights and sergeants. They do not. They only get defensive spearmen, as well as these low country spearmen who are offensive spearmen, but personally I don't think that those units have a great value in this matchup, especially on my side, because what are those going to do against knights? Knights are just going to cycle charge them over and over again, and in this open of terrain, you're just never going to trap them, I don't think. So that's how we're going to go, and let's go ahead and assign our generals. Alright, we've got our generals applied, so over on the right flank we've got our commander-in-chief as well as one of our sub-generals working as one group. This is going to be kind of the main thrust of our push here. Again, I kind of want to see if I can push for this hill really quickly. He's going to beat me to it, but my hope is that with these crossbows I'll be able to push off any knights, because our knights can definitely beat his infantry to this hill, but we definitely can't beat his knights, so we definitely will want to be relying on these units. And since again this is mostly just flat ground, we don't need to worry about our knights not performing effectively. I've decided to move one unit of defensive spears over to this left flank here. I don't want these crossbows to have to operate completely alone, but I mean the French list doesn't have any medium foot, so they're probably not going to be contesting this at all. This is more of, if he decides to push everything over here, we can kind of form a bottleneck as he attempts to maybe like evade this area, which means that we might still get some value out of this hill, and that's where these raw spearmen are going to come in. We can use these to hold this higher hill because the bonus provided by it makes them just so excellent. I mean, like, knights are gonna, I wouldn't say they're gonna like repel from the 100 height hill, but it's definitely going to cause problems for them even with raw spearmen. I think with the general they actually win that engagement, which is kind of funny. Anyway, that's the deployment, and we'll see you on the next turn. Next turn, so this is, I believe, turn 2 for our German forces here. Let's see how he decides to deploy his French army here. So he's not pushing very aggressively at all. He's got a checkerboard of infantry here in the front, just a really healthy amount of spearmen. And I think this actually works to our advantage for a number of reasons. These spears don't do very much at all against these knights, except get like smashed in the face generally. So let's see. He's got all his lights over here, doesn't he? 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 5 light archers. That is kind of a problem. That is kind of a problem. Because he obviously outnumbers us here. That means he's going to be able to potentially do like a lot of damage to us very quickly. We might have to be, we're basically going to be having to use some of these knights and sergeants as like cavalry, which is not ideal. As for the rest of the line, I think we actually have a pretty decent situation here. Again, we can kind of rush these knights into position on this hill, where it's just gonna be completely impenetrable. He's not gonna be able to do anything. I think kind of the big question for me at this point is, do I let him move one more turn before advancing? If he moves one more turn, we get to here, and then he either chooses to go here, but then we can just get up onto this hill and charge him. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to make him think that we're just going to hang back here. And the next turn we'll be moving these knights forward to kind of deal with it. Just kind of delay that push a little bit. Just for one turn. Just enough, right? Okay. Get these crossbows over here. We want to kind of delay contact here, but we're not going to let him know that. Immediately, anyway. Ideally, we'd like this unit to get shot, not these. The value proposition of shooting a mounted knight with light archers is much higher than shooting defensive spears. And let's see. Let's just move these archers over, because I think he knows he's going to be able to push this side in relatively easily, and there isn't too awful much I can do about it, unfortunately. Not with that many lights. That's just too many. It's too many lights on that side. Let's see. Anything else we want to do this turn? Again, we want to avoid contact on this side. I think We want to at least give him the appearance that we're going to defend this hill. You know, that way he's not immediately sniffing out that we're not doing anything with these units, maybe. Yeah, let's do that. Let's give him the impression that we're just gonna camp on this hill, and he needs to push this side in, and then once his units have reached here, we can push these knights up and potentially do something with them. Kind of push in where he maybe isn't expecting us to, and then something else we can do as well is kind of surprise him by this is something I love about these lighter knights, but to be honest, some of the heavier knights can kind of get away with it as well, just because they're still cavalry. They're still relatively mobile compared to like infantry, for example, heavy foot rather. These, you know, we can shift our line, leave like one knight and these units here to deal with this mass of archers. But then the rest of these units are pushing forward, and he doesn't have, you know, unless he's got something in the forest, he doesn't have any crossbowmen to, like, deal with this. How many knights did he actually bring? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. With a max of 13, I don't think he brought that many. Just judging by the number of infantry relative to when I was commanding them. I could take the time to count the points on this, but I don't really feel like doing that. I'm kind of lazy. That cost me the match, you know. I'll eat my shoe, but all right. I think that's good for now. I like this deployment. I like giving him the feeling that we're kind of we're just banking on this hill. We're just going to sit here. We're not going to push you, and then kind of, you know, pushing him. Next turn. Okay, so interesting. He's actually falling back. Yeah, I kind of anticipated this. He just does not want to approach me in any capacity, which is, you know, reasonable considering I have this, like, 100 height hill. I mean, if he's not going to contest it at all, we're just gonna move forward. Because again, I just wanted to delay for like one turn, make him think that we're gonna hold here, and then this will allow us to get our knights up to here. Let's see. Get those crossbows ready to set up shop on this hill. Use these dismounted knights to kind of take this position. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think he's necessarily planning on coming out to meet me for an engagement. It certainly doesn't seem like he's interested in it. And if he's gonna sit here and do nothing, I mean, that's kind of lame, but hey, what can you do? It's the game. For the time being, we're gonna keep moving. I'm gonna give him the ground. I know he's not gonna engage me there. I know he's not gonna come forward and like try to fight this area, so I'm not worried about that. What I think I am gonna do is maybe tease him with the possibility of these knights being out of position. And then we'll see if maybe we can do something with that. And then 1, 2. So we can safely go to there without being in, without being too away. So that'll work. All right. Next turn. So yeah, he's gonna continue maneuvering those lights around. It's absolutely fine if he wants to do that. And unfortunately, it looks like he's content to just stay put. He has no interest in engaging. Has decided that this is not a situation he wants to necessarily engage in. Well, we'll see how that works out for him, I guess. It's really, I think, important to note here that he has no projectile units on this side. So we may be able to leverage that a little bit. Yeah, let's go ahead and get these knights in an uphill position. And keep moving these foot a little bit closer to the front as well. I think we can afford to shift over one to the left. And then we need to find a way to get these knights involved as well. So I want to push them forward a little bit more. And then if he's just gonna let me take my time, I mean, I'm going to, right? Let's see, I mean, we're within range here. We just want to make sure we're not in full arc, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So he can't just, like, shoot completely for free. We'll kind of intersperse the lights with our knights here. Might have to chase a couple of them off, but... Alright. Next turn. Interesting that he's gone with a checkerboard in both matches here, I think. He really is just content to hold here, which is interesting. Because I want nothing to do with your high ground, I want nothing to do with this column of knights, I just want nothing to do with you. I don't want to play the game, I just want to sit here. I'm content where I am, honestly. We'll see if it works out for him. It might. Get those knights somewhere they can't be useful. And we got these crossbows here, so this is just unchargeable. Now, the problem is we can't push into this flank because of the woods. And to be honest, we have a hard time pushing them at all because of all these archers. So, definitely not ideal. I think here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take this unit, and we're gonna start rolling around the flank to prep a charge kind of into the side of these units to like sweep them without having to actually deal with them. And to counteract that, we're gonna move these foot closer to the center. As far as these raw spearmen go, I think probably the best place for them is going to be here in this line. Now, this unit is within bow shot, which is unfortunate, but if I go like this, he can only shoot with, I think, 2 of them unless he moves. And if he does move, we're going to get ready to charge with these knights. Now, we'll see if he takes the bait here. I doubt it. But we are only presenting him a strong front here, so we'll see what happens. Next turn. I'd like to think we have the advantage here, but I know that that's not necessarily true. So, I think, let's see, how much can we turn these units all in one go? I mean, is he really just gonna let me, like, fully encircle these lights? I mean, that would be kind of crazy, huh? Okay, that unit can't turn if he does that, so yeah, I think we're just gonna have to do that. Turn that unit that way. And basically we just really want him to have to come to us, because then he will lose his shots modifier. Set these archers up over here. We are within range of 2 of them. So make of that what you will. Now, shooting these armored spears is something I'm not even remotely interested in doing. However, once again, he has no projectile units to speak of. We have 2 more knights who can get onto the flat here. We've got spears in reserve who can help, and something else as well is without any projectile units, we're in a good position here to push, and unlike in the mirror where I pushed out with the knights, he's kind of trapped himself a little bit to where if I can close off this forest, he just can't get around this line, and we might be able to just grind him down doing that. That would be pretty huge if so. Again, I think he's just being so passive. I kind of wonder if he's like going for a draw or something, to be honest. Okay, these dismounted knights and sergeants are going to be a lot more resistant to the projectiles of these light archers, and more importantly, moving these over here is going to kind of create a bigger wall for him to have to get through with his lights in order to get to these units. Let's see which group he's a part of. We could also just start cycle charging these units, right? Like there's just like no penalty to doing it except for the fact that if these do stick, then he's going to countercharge with these knights. So if we do it, we're going to have to pretty much make sure that we have a very like flat line here so that he can't get in more than one unit at a time as we cycle charge. I think that's kind of the idea here. And then he's just he's just being so passive. We're going to be able to move these knights like up to here even, while the rest of our knights are just pushing in these infantry here. And if we can get breaks on like these defensive spears and stuff, he's going to be, you know, taking a lot of cohesion checks. It's just going to get really like nasty for him. Something else as well is if we can move our crossbows to here, we can actually like get some shots on these knights. That would also be just pretty delightful overall, I would say. So yeah, we're going to be patient, definitely. Usually a good trait to have, knowing exactly the time that you want to push. But, yeah, so I think we're just going to keep waiting. We really want to maneuver to get these knights around first, since they're on the flank, and just try to deny him the ability to use these light archers. All the while we're setting him up to basically just get pinned right here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then I wonder if he's, you know, gonna try to make any moves now that, you know, because the thing is, if he has to push these archers to us, right, that's going to be really unfortunate for him. He may have, I remember from the mirror deployment, the most he could deploy in this forest was just in this tile, and I haven't seen him move anything into it, and that at most in this forest there's maybe going to be either a crossbow or a unit of peasants. A unit of crossbows is not that bad, I don't think. It can disrupt if they're within 2 range, but we'll see if that's even a problem, because once like next turn, right, this unit can get up to here, set up to like flank charge into these lights, and then something else we could probably do is get one of these units of knights to, I want to say about here, although maybe we'll wait one more turn. Yeah, I think we'll wait one more turn to get these knights here, so that when we do start flank charging these units, these lights, we're going to be able to get flank charges on them and just completely run them down with with our cab, get a lot of value, and prevent him from doing any free disruptions on us. All the while, we continue to just hold in this really strong position, and we don't have to make a move, right? Because he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to move at the moment. So I think I am going to go ahead and move knights up to create a line. So now, again, this is why I feel like this is just a mistake, right? He can't do anything about this now. He has no projectile units. They're about to get run down in a couple of turns. So now the onus is on him to get charging. We've got crossbows here, so if any of these units don't stick on their charge, they're just gonna get butchered. So And I will move those heavier crossbows up. And these light crossbows have shots as well. Move these spears up. And then I think moving these knights up one more hex is fine. Let's see. Hold on, is that fine? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he can shoot from there. I kind of don't want to do that. I will straighten out his trajectory, though. Yeah. Straighten out these raw spheres as well. They don't need to go anywhere. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with this position. I might be wrong to be so, but it's looking pretty good. Next turn. Okay, he generals up and charges with 2 of his knights. Gets the disruption, his general dies. Goes for the charge of my dismounted knights. Rather predictably bounces. Let's see what we can do. So, we can do up to 16 casualties. Okay. But if we leave our light crossbows here, these units can't bounce. So, less than ideal. But let's see. Let's think about this. So, if we pile in on this unit, right? He can move his knights here and potentially start attacking this unit. I don't know exactly if we can stop that. If he moves his knights up here, though, he either has to charge this unit, or he's going to get pelted by the crossbows. So we go ahead and do that. Let's see, 50 height. Yeah, we'll back that unit off just entirely. That's fine. Let's see what we got here. Let's see, this part of these knights are part of this unit, so in theory we could drop our general on this unit here. Or we could throw it on this unit that's struggling. It's a good idea too. Because if we do this, yeah, his lose chance goes down rather significantly. Go ahead and zone this unit out so he has to charge us. Let's see, we can't rotate if we go there with that unit. Can't do it with that unit either. Can we move that far and rotate? No. Let's take some shots. Nice, it's a good disruption. And let's move up these spears. Okay, don't want to move within full arc of those lights just yet, but we now have an in on this flank here. So if he can try to shoot some of these knights, but we're still going to be able to just run down this entire contingent of light archers, I think. Okay, move the light spears up. I say we pile in on this unit. Just get the local superiority, and then, again, if he wants to charge into this, he's not going to have a flank from here if he does do it, and if he moves here next turn, we can just shoot him with the crossbows anyway. So, if he charges with the Low Country Spears, he's taking a huge penalty, as he's charging uphill against Knightly Lancers, which tends to not end very well. For infantry, of course, and even if we fall back. So he pushes, we fall back. I mean, if he turns to flank, we still can just surround him. So, and again, if he moves his knights here, yeah, and even if he like pushes these knights back and then he charges these crossbows, we're still going to be able to charge him with these knights as well. So, just to make things a little bit more complicated for him as well, I think we're going to move these defensive spears here. And then let's move these raw spears to within a more reasonable distance as well. Alright, we'll give some crossbow shots to those knights. Again, rather sad that we didn't have enough firepower to get a disruption, but that's the way it goes. Alright, let's see how these units hold. Okay, and 30% loss here. Lost but held firm. Good. Alright, tough question. I don't think... Okay, we're going to zone these knights out with our dismounted knights, so then he has to charge us. We don't... Sometimes it can be worth it to charge in against knights. So like in this scenario, we could take a loss, but then we'd have a good chance of winning next round. However, the problem with that is these defensive spears are almost certainly going to move next turn. And in the event that they do that, these will just bounce off anyway. So then we'll have wasted kind of that like push. So... don't want to waste that opportunity, basically. Next turn. He goes for the impact here. Goes for an impact there. Those units should lose. They don't disrupt, though. Unfortunate. Charges the dismounted knights. Disrupts. He's going to prep for the charge next turn. Looks like he's going for disruption on these knights. Let's see if he gets it. Looks like we hold. He does have a unit of crossbowmen in the woods, too, actually. How did he even get those in there, I wonder? I had line of sight on this whole area, and when I was deploying on the other side, that's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know how he did that. I guess I just wasn't paying attention. Now that it's our turn, let's take a look at our options now that our line is more or less on the verge of collapse already. So, probably we start by pushing in on these light archers, just to charge into the defensive spears. They hold, we'll charge again. They hold. Go for those light archers, charge into the low country spears. They disrupt. Excellent. Let's charge these light archers and see what happens here. Get the rear attack on those. They break. The neighboring ones hold firm. Let's see if we can get a frag here. Okay, they hold. They don't have significant casualties yet, though. What if we move and turn shoot here? Okay, that's with significant casualties. So they're not gonna break this turn. That's fine. All right. And, you know, kudos to him here for putting his generals on and charging where I didn't have generals and just making sure that the POA is all lined up pretty nicely for him. It's just not something I think to do in situations like this, which is just, like, kind of do, like, ambush general deployment. It's a really hard thing to predict, too, if all the units are in, like, one group. You can't really stop them from doing that. And that's why there's always going to be, like, a pretty significant defender's advantage in this game, I think, in most situations. We'll go and resolve some of these melees. We are at least holding one of his generals here, but we're slowly going to lose this, unfortunately, even though we have a combat strength modifier, just because he does have that general, so his point of advantage is looking better for him. Go ahead and take this bad melee. We disrupt immediately. Okay. And we're just going to continue to zone these units out. He's going to keep cycle charging these dismounted knights. Kind of unfortunate that our superior unit disrupted and his average defensive spears held, so... but hey, what can you do? That's the way the game works. Let's see. Let's see what happens if we charge into these. We just get right in front of the crossbows. Let's charge these as well. And same story. So that's unfortunate. Gonna try to move the spears into a better position, but I think this is looking pretty grim, honestly. I don't know how we realistically get out of this one. I think we do keep this unit pinned, just because again, charging into it's pretty bad. So yeah, I'm not really feeling we can do anything about that either. And going past the turn. Next turn. And yeah, those knights are just gonna get absolutely dumpstered. It's a tragedy. Actually win a melee there. It's been 2 melees there, surprisingly. And he does go for the charge. Charge there. We lose, even though we're even, which sucks. And he does frag those dismounted knights. They hold firm for the impact. And we rally. Awesome. Okay, so this is huge, potentially. Interesting that he is kind of zoning out here. I mean, I guess he moved in from here, so that makes sense. Now, something we're curious about here for sure is, if I do this, can we still charge this unit? The answer would appear to be no. Like, if I move here... Okay, if I move here, we actually could potentially double charge this unit. Let's see if we can get a disruption here. Okay, that's a no. Charge this unit. Okay, we get a win, but he still disrupts. Perhaps somewhat importantly, we've opened this part of the line a little bit, and I think we could potentially get these raw spearmen in a position to cover some of the gaps that are about to form. Let's go for where we're winning. Okay, no dice. Probably should have taken the fight against the disrupted knights first. These units are probably going to break a little bit faster now as a result. Decisions. If we go backward with the crossbows, they're going to disrupt anyway. Or they might disrupt. So we probably don't want to give them a free check, but they're also going to have a chance to disrupt from these knights and sergeants. Probably positionally it makes more sense to fall back. They do hold, which is awesome. And then that leaves us with the question of what we want to do with these lights. I think probably we want to move these lights here, prepare them to shoot at something that is not engaged, and have these raw spears form up to, again, just kind of cover whatever line break there happens to be. Now, let's see. What is something we're interested in doing here? Well, we could charge these spearmen and then bounce. We actually get the disruption there. That's insane. Okay. That's not nothing. That is definitively not nothing. Interestingly, we only have a 15% chance to lose, or 15% loss on this position here. And these knights are almost certainly going to bounce out. Okay, they do lose, they do frag. Tragic, but, you know, what can you do? We were already in a terrible position. Okay, let's go ahead and give these crossbowmen some shots. I mean, we're not going to disrupt them, but it makes me feel better, so, you know, we're going to do that. Let's move these units here. And now for some less good stuff. It's, alright, we lose a pretty even melee there, which is bad. And let's see which one of these is worse. We'll take the disrupted low country spears first. Hold, lose, and hold. These knights fall back. Very interesting. I think the correct move here is to move these defensive spears to cover the flank. Otherwise, he can just move here and set up. But not that he would anyway. These units are covering. But that does give us a continued charge angle against this section here. Okay, those dismounted knights do break, but these ones hold, which is very important. Now, he is going to be able to move in with one of these units and charge these dismounted knights and sergeants. Most likely, he's going to move either these defensive spears in, at which point I have, you know, no flank to answer this immediately. Well, actually, these knights here can flank charge. So most likely what he's going to do is push his knights in here and then charge against these dismounted knights. And it doesn't matter if he disrupts, he's able to get these units to stick on this failing, dying unit with the general. So not looking forward to that particularly, but we'll see how it pans out next turn. I am glad we were able to get these frag knights out of the way. Although it's very likely he's just going to charge with his crossbows or defensive spears next turn and break them anyway. So yeah, we'll see. I'm going to shoot with these crossbows even though it's not very efficient. Just try to get some shots out, but yeah, that's that turn. Next turn. His spears do rally. Rather unfortunate. He is able to frag those knights. Okay, one of our knights breaks. The others hold firm though. And yeah, as I suspected, he wanted to get in on that melee. Okay, we do kill the enemy general. That's pretty huge. Okay, he's going to knock out these light archers, most likely. Well, they're going to hold for one turn, for what it's worth. Alright. And he gets stuck in with the defensive spears here. I think he's waiting. Yeah, so most likely he's waiting for this unit to break before he commits this unit, because if these general knights disrupt, then he's going to be in a much better position to charge here. So now, interestingly, we can get a flank charge on these knights here with our raw spearmen, and then just getting huge value out of them. So we're absolutely going to do that. Now, let's see if we can get a break here on these defensive spears. 66 to win. Okay. No dice. Well, we don't want to move. What we want to do is set up a flank, definitely. And then... I mean, if we go like this, we can't attack because of the turn angle, that's right. So, currently even with these Low Country spears. We'll just go ahead and resolve that. Okay, losing immediately is pretty bad. Okay, these knights disrupted anyway, sadly. Thankfully we are winning uphill now against these units. It's not going to do too awfully much, but I am going to start shooting these Low Country spears, just to thin out their numbers a little bit. I mean, why not, right? It's not like these things are shooting anything anyway. Okay, we've got a 50% win here. Oh, we take out their general, that's excellent. Okay, these knights and sergeants are pinned, so we are slowly winning that engagement. Let's see. So, if we don't push in here, he has to push through our impact, right? So, I think we just leave this as is. If he pushes through and attacks these defensive spears, you know, he's allowed to do that, but hopefully this unit of frag knights is going to break sooner rather than later. Let's go ahead and resolve this. Ugly melee. Okay, they hold for another turn. Oh. I think them taking a cohesion check from stepping back is going to be a lot less terrible than when this whole line is, you know, probably about to collapse. I'm going to set these knights like this so that they're able to potentially charge into some of the crossbowmen next turn. But yeah, this is just a really ugly situation here. Okay, they fall back. That's excellent, actually. And these units aren't even committed in melee yet. Okay, those lines are going to break. Yep. Alright, well, let's give him some shots. Anything else we can do this turn? I don't particularly think so. I'm happy with where these raw spears are, and those knights are just going to break, so yeah. Next turn, he gets 2 rallies. So probably going to see a break here. Yep. Does disrupt one of our knights, unfortunately. These knights are probably also going to break relatively quickly. We'll just go for the obvious flank charge here, just to get this unit out of here. Amazingly, with a 96% chance to win, did not win there. It probably still lights out for this unit eventually, but rather tragic that we didn't get a win there. Let's see. We'll go for a win here. 76. Didn't get it either. We are slowly winning this melee now, at least. I think we have to get stuck in here. Okay, they hold. Excellent. And then, looking pretty ugly elsewhere, I would say. Raw spears are actually doing decently well against these defensive spears, just on account of the combat strength difference, which I think we can continue to work in our favor. Let's see. I'll go for a disruption on these crossbowmen. Yeah, it's the same long distance as it would be 2 after moving, so we'll keep that. And then, kind of a tough question here. Let's see. It's got 118 knights left on this unit. We could potentially throw a general on these knights here, and then join in with these knights as well. Or we could try to push in these defensive spears and just go for a win where we can. I think overall, though, the situation's not looking great. We'll go ahead and try that, though. Okay. We do stick. We still lose in frag. Oh my god, dude. Alright. Missing 96s, losing on 18s. It's just one of those days, you know? Every game that has dice rolls has days like these. It's just a part of the game, sadly. Alright. Start moving these raw spears in here. We'll do this melee real quick as well. Frag on a 25, and then auto break. Oh man. Well. I mean, I guess at least we can get a flank charge here next turn. I think it should last that long. Alright, anything else we can do this turn? I mean, we're losing this melee. And those knights break, perhaps rather predictably. Let's get some crossbow shots to these knights here. We do get a disruption for what it's worth. That does help in the event of a flank charge with him actually like winning the combat. So we'll take it. And I think that's all we can do. Alright, next turn, and I think this is probably game with that break. Nice flank, well done. Yep, that'll do it. Oh, frag and break on those raw spears. Oh yeah, this is over. Yep, well done to him. I definitely fell for the trap over here with his lights, with my knights. And over here he got me really good with a ambush on his general placement. So, yeah. Well done to him. Admit I wasn't really in control of this match. I fared a lot better in the mirror for sure, but yeah, this is definitely going to be game. Alright, GG. Yeah. I mean, as far as it goes, again, he got me good here with the general ambush. Not something I really would have thought of, but, you know, when he's got this much experience over me, it makes a lot of sense that he would, like, use a mechanic like that when I wouldn't have thought to. Really blundered over here with the knights. I think this was probably the biggest mistake that I made, was just going after these lights with my knights. Not bringing enough projectile units, also definitely probably a major mistake that I made here. Just didn't give me the shooting power I needed to kind of dislodge him from this position. And that probably really worked against me here. So, yep, we'll play Duatan, and I'll see you on the next one.